Sanders.
The 8-1 Lions are getting set for the 2-8 Jaguars this Sunday. Jacksonville's 0-5 away from home. The Lions are 3-1. They sit on top of the NFC North and have a 7-game winning streak. They rallied for a win last week at Houston. Despite quarterback Jared Goff's 5 interceptions, Lions coach Dan Campbell said he's not too concerned.
Forget the one right before halftime. Really, only one of them was kind of, okay, I got it. The rest of those... it just kind of was circumstance. We were a little off, he and J-Mo. J-Mo should be a little higher angle, and so there's just these little circumstances that come into play and so for me, I'm not going to tell him anything. I don't feel like this is, oh man, what are you doing? These weren't ill-advised throws. It wasn't our day.
Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Shop early, save big, all month long during Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Right now, get select pre-lit artificial Christmas trees starting at just $59.98. Don't wait to save. Shop these deals today, in-store or online, because Lowe's knows deals. Discount taken at time of purchase while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
After you use Bounce Dryer sheets and realize how fresh, soft, less wrinkled, and less staticky your laundry can be, you'll every time. Like those socks that smell like they've been through a marathon. Or that blanket that's got wrinkles on its wrinkles. Maybe even your chatty coworker who keeps distracting you. Okay, Bounce Dryer sheets can't do it all. But for fresher, softer, better laundry,
Get sports gaming strategies and information 24 hours a day,
7 days a week.
Everything you need to get the winning edge right here.
No wonder the wife says you need to spend more time with the kids.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
The only place in football where the offense is always on the field is on Moneyline. With the two best hosts in radio, Donnie Rightside.
If anybody wasn't watching, listen, I don't know what you were doing.
And Kevin Walsh.
Forget act like you've been there before.
On the SportsGrid Radio Network, SiriusXM Channel 159.
Oh, right into it, people. You know what it is. Best time of your day. Of course it is. The best hour of your day. Impressively, absolutely yes. It's Moneyline. It's Donnie Rightside. It's a solo mission. It's a SportsGrid Network. It's SiriusXM Channel 159. And the topics we got to get to today are sensational. Now, you know me. Have the day off on Tuesday. Come back in on Wednesday, full force. Host the show before this, the early line for 3 hours. Come right on the radio. Pop off. Get after it. Thanks for everybody who joins us each and every day here on Moneyline. Kevin and I certainly appreciate it. If you're in the chat box here, SportsGrid on demand on YouTube, the best way to watch the radio show. Fantastic. Get in the chat box. Say hello. Obviously, sportsgridradio.com. You also have sportsgrid.com, the SportsGrid app. So many different ways to watch and listen. We thank you for all your support here, but you know how we get down. The hot topics start the show, but I have so many focuses today on the NFL that I want to get through. Thursday Night Football, which again we'll talk about ad nauseum tomorrow, but it is a very big game for the Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Commanders. Then you get to Sunday's NFL action, the 1 o'clock action, where it has, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. That's an unbelievable game there. And then 4:25 from Buffalo, it's the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to start to hit some projections on those games, as well as take a look at some of the prop bets there, those major games, and also the MVP markets. But before we get there, I like college football. I absolutely love it this year. I adore it. The fact that we have the 12-team playoff coming in is absolutely sensational must-watch TV. And I said before the season, this is going to be the single best college football season we've ever seen, and it's living up to that and more. Every single game, it feels like, matters. Normally, when we're talking in mid-November, there's 4 to 5 teams that might actually have a chance to do something. Now, we have 15 to 20 teams that have the ability to do something, which means get into the National College Football Playoff, which is going to be awesome to watch it play out. If we are looking right now, let me just bring up the anticipated numbers, or should I say games, that we could get from college football. Number 2, Ohio State, hosting Boise State. Number 4, Penn State, hosting Ole Miss. Number 5, Indiana, hosting Alabama. Number 7, Tennessee hosting Notre Dame. I mean, can you picture a better Friday, Saturday slate than what you have in college football when we start getting these playoff games? It's wonderful. It's awesome. It's sensational. It's absolutely everything I've dreamed of and more. Here's the question. As you guys know, I'm not a big fan of these television shows that they have. College football rankings are out. I used to laugh at it the past couple of years when only 4 teams got in, and all they would do is play with you between the 6th seed, the 5th seed, the 4th seed, and the 3rd seed. Jumble them around one week, change them the next week, make people keep tuning in and talking about these stupid points that they have left and right. That's neither here nor there anymore. That's in the past. We're not worried one bit about those. Here's what we are worried about now. This was the thought process coming in. And beggars can't be choosers sometimes. But you know me. I like to be commissioner of all sports. I like to be the end-all be-all because I think like the common man. Here's what should happen here, regardless of what you want to happen. We go from 4 to 12 teams. It was awesome. It's a no-brainer. Every other, like FCS, Division II and Division III, have way more teams in their playoff than 12. Division III, I think, goes up to 32 teams. It's awesome. It's the way it should be. The more people at the end of the season playing more meaningful football and get rid of the bowl system, which is ridiculously horrendous and no need for it anymore. But that's not the conversation I want to have today. I want to look at that top 12. Oregon, number 1, absolutely. Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, Indiana, BYU, Tennessee, Notre Dame, Miami, and Alabama, they round out the top 10. Fantastic. Love it. Those are going to change. Absolutely. Now, you ready for this one? Number 10 is Alabama. I have no issue with that. They absolutely destroyed LSU, took them apart. They're in the SEC, the toughest division in football, conference, I should say. Take a look at Ole Miss, sitting 8-2, moved up 5 spots, now in the 11 seed. Season ends today. They're in the college football playoff, and rightfully so. They hammered a good Georgia team, or at least what we thought was a good Georgia team right now, right? Number 12 in the standing is that same Georgia team that dropped 9 spots by getting hammered by Ole Miss. They sit at 12. So, based on the college football playoff rankings, right? Top 12 teams get in. All right, Georgia, you're in there. Wait a second. You see who sits 13th? That's Boise State at 8-1 overall. They actually dropped 1 spot from 12 to 13. But Donnie, if the season ended today, it's the top 12 teams. No, it's not. No, it's not. Georgia would be left out for Boise State, who would climb in. Now, I do want to say this. We always knew that we would have arguments, whether it's the top 2, the top 4 in the old BCS patterns, the top 12, and when they expanded to 24 teams, we'll argue about the 25th team. It's just what we do. But for me, my goal is, I like to say, commissioner of all sports. I want to get the best 12 teams in the championship rounds, and that's the only way you can look at the college football playoff. But for some reason, they had to include the group of 5, like it's the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It never should be this way. You should be in on merit. I actually don't even like that, hey, if you win your conference, you get the automatic bye. I don't believe that should be the case either. If you win your championship in your conference, of course, you're the best team in your conference, and you probably should go. But I don't want a bad conference here, like the ACC is having, leaving out one of the teams in the SEC, which would smash any team from the ACC. See where I'm going with this point? And to further that point, Boise State is a good story. They have a great running back who's up for the Heisman. Do I think he's going to win it? I don't think so. Probably going to come down to Travis Hunter in this point, and maybe one of these quarterbacks like a Dylan Gabriel have some big moments here coming up with some big football games. But if he does win it, that's fantastic. It's great for college football. He'd well deserve it. He's having a record-breaking season. The kid is phenomenal. Looks like a great kid. He's going to go to the NFL and do big things. But did I not see the look-ahead line? Because you know Vegas is quick, and the odds makers are quick. Here's what doesn't make sense. Boise State getting in over Georgia. Donnie, they deserved it. They only have 1 loss. Their loss was to Oregon, the number 1 team in the country. Understand that I do. But if you line Georgia and Boise State up side by side, that spread, 19.5 points. Georgia is favored over Boise State. So I understand it's not the end-all be-all, and records do matter. But if the goal of what we're trying to do with the college football rankings to get into the playoffs is get the best 12 teams in, we're not doing that. And that's the disservice that's being made. And I say this and now again, there's a long way to go in the regular season. These things typically work themselves out. Boise goes undefeated. they're probably not going to stay at 13th here. They will move up the charts at least 1, 2, maybe 3, 4 spots, depending on who's in front of them. If Alabama suffers another loss, they got 3 losses, they probably won't be ranked ahead of it. But when you're talking about lining teams up side by side to get the best teams in there, one team is 3 touchdowns better than the other, and that team's not going to go, that's just a little bit unfair. But as I said, Georgia's got a big game against Tennessee. If Georgia wins this week, they're going to jump other teams here, right? Tennessee is going to fall from 8-2 and go below Georgia. So it does have its way to work out. But the way I just look, and it gets me so fired up when I see the standings, knowing the top 12 teams, this is who we think is the best in the country, that 12th team can't play in the end-all, be-all college football playoff because we have a group of 5 team that has to actually be sprinkled in. That's ridiculous. That shouldn't happen. But again, it's going to work itself out, and that's why I don't have any issues. How about Colorado sneaking up there, right? Moved up 3 spots into 17. There's a chance that they can sneak their way in. SMU in the ACC. Heck, if they just win the ACC, they're automatically in there, which again brings up an interesting thought process. But then Miami would probably drop out at that point. There's so much longer to go. Like Indiana, who's played absolutely nobody on the season. 2 weeks, they're going to take on Ohio State. How's that going to work out if they lose? They just stay up there because they have 1 loss but didn't play anybody? A lot of things will be worked out on the football field, and I'm here to watch it play out. I just wish last night that exact scenario that I hate is coming to fruition right now. The top 12 team that shouldn't be in there in Boise State could make it in. Long way to go. Let's get to the NFL next. It's Donnie Rightside right here on Moneyline.
It's a choice.
Roll the dice
Or listen to us. Luck is finding a good parking spot. Strategy is getting the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
U.S. Department of Agriculture announced that students eligible for free or reduced price school meals cannot be charged processing fees beginning in 2027. With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. School districts currently work with processing companies to offer cashless payment systems for families, but the companies can charge processing fees for each transaction. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau says processing companies charge as much as $3.25 or 4 to 5% per transaction. Annual inflation may have risen in October for the first time in 7 months. Consumer prices are thought to have increased 2.6% from 12 months earlier, according to a survey of economists by the data provider FactSet, up from 2.4% in September. Measured month-to-month prices are believed to have ticked up 0.2% from September to October, the same as in the previous month. An uptick in prices could fuel concerns in financial markets that progress in taming inflation might be slowing. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Every day, Cintas service reps help businesses get ready for the workday. They provide freshly laundered workwear delivered every week. Mats, mops, restroom and cleaning supplies, first aid and safety products to help your employees stay safe. They even test and inspect fire extinguishers and emergency lights. Cintas helps keep your business running smoothly. See what Cintas can do for you. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Here's some brutal truth.
You can listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more and live the good life. Or you can dig out the change from your sofa cushions.
Ooh, sticky.
We told you it was brutal. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Let's go get him, Chuck!
This is one of those weekends you're going to love in the NFL. It feels like Separation Sunday is here. And it starts on Thursday night, so why don't we go there? Tomorrow we'll talk about this game a lot, no doubt about it. But I just want to get that fresh look at this point now. Washington, Philadelphia, prime time, Thursday night football. One team 7-2, the Philadelphia Eagles. One team 7-3, the Washington Commanders. Absolutely great game. Thursday night, you know me. I usually lean towards the home team. I do think the Philadelphia Eagles are the better team overall, and I think they have them in their own building. That gives you the advantage. And the odds makers are looking at that as well. FanDuel opened up as a -3 point favorite for Philadelphia tomorrow. They now sit at 3.5 at -115. Across the board, looks like the prevailing number, 3.5. The total, 49.5, now dipping a little bit to 48.5. The one thing now we're going to have to start to getting used to is checking the weather conditions. Today, you know me, live in southern New Jersey. I would say now about 25 minutes to a 30-minute drive outside of Philadelphia. I woke up this morning to 30-degree temperatures. That's a first. We've been having like an Indian summer here all throughout the fall. 60 degrees, 70 degrees, highs 80 degrees at sometimes here in the month of November. No rain ever in the forecast. And wind speeds not really all that bad. Tomorrow night in Philadelphia at kickoff around 8 o'clock, 45 degrees, precipitation around 10%. So we're not really expecting any rain or anything, but could possibly have a little bit of it. And windy conditions, not necessarily. They're under 10 miles an hour. So very good weather still for November, but not the weather conditions that we've been looking at the past where every single game it felt like it was playing in a warm fall afternoon. Jaden Daniels has been a wonderful quarterback for the Commanders this year. Jalen Hurts starting to play much, much better football. And they did have some turnovers last week. Took a sack fumble and also threw an interception. Didn't mind because the Cowboys are a horrendous team. The Eagles blew the doors off them. We watched the Washington Commanders take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was a great football game. The Steelers end up picking that win, which means now, technically, the Philadelphia Eagles are in first place in the NFC East. That could change tomorrow night with the Washington victory, or the Philadelphia Eagles can pad their stats on that NFC East margin by beating the Commanders at home. Let's take a look at how this game should play out in my mind. Two very good offenses getting after it. If we're looking at the line itself, 3.5. Am I in love with taking the Eagles at the 3.5? Not necessarily, because I do think Washington's a very good football team. But the Eagles also activating that practice window for Jordan Mailata. The Eagles also cutting a tight end to free up a roster space that hasn't been used yet in anticipation. It looks like it's going to be Jordan Mailata, their left tackle. They need him back for this one. It looks like they're on the way to that. So the Eagles have that very good offensive line back intact. Saquon Barkley has been tremendous. And as we said, Jalen Hurts looks like he's somewhat putting away those turnover tendencies, even though he had 2 last week, stepped up and still played a good football game after those turnovers in the first half. Eagles mauled the Dallas Cowboys. But also, last week, as we sat on the Pro Football Today set, I said to myself from an Eagles perspective, I don't know if I can lay the 7.5 with the Eagles against Dallas. Not because I think Dallas is a good football team, because they're not, but there was a lot of question marks. How was Dallas Goedert going to play in that game coming back from the hamstring injury? No worse for the wear. Devontae Smith, who was battling a hamstring injury throughout practice week last week, made it through that football game. He looks to be fine. A.J. Brown, who left the previous game with a knee injury, played last week and looked fine himself. So now you're telling me all the Philadelphia Eagles are full go in the defense that's playing better. That is an advantage towards them. If we are looking at the 48.5, yes, technically I think it goes over because you have two very good offenses going toe-to-toe. I think the Eagles defense gets a slight nod over the Washington defense at this time, and most people probably would agree with that. They've been playing great football. Zach Bond looks like the best linebacker in football out of nowhere when he was supposed to be a backup linebacker, slash special teamer, and maybe rush the passer. He has been absolutely sensational. Now, let's take a look at the markets here. And we'll just go with FanDuel just to keep it simple. Anytime touchdown score for tomorrow. Saquon Barkley listed at a minus 180 price. Jalen Hurts at a minus 110. So 2 Philadelphia Eagles started off. Austin Eckler. And you know what? Let me get the practice report, because I just want to see what's going on in Washington. As you saw last week, Marshawn Lattimore, I know yesterday did not practice, and that doesn't bode well here for him playing this weekend, or this Thursday night, excuse me. Didn't practice on Monday, didn't practice on Tuesday. Now, they are light reports, but they're estimations if you had a full practice, if those players, what their participation rates would be. He didn't practice at all. Brian Robinson did get in limited practicing on Monday and Tuesday with that hamstring injury. I don't know if I can trust him there. So that's why Austin Eckler comes in at a plus 115 price with Brian Robinson. That number certainly will change if Brian Robinson doesn't play. But if he does play, the chance of re-injuring that hamstring, always on my mind. So if I'm taking a running back from a Washington perspective, anticipating that, yes, both of these guys play, it's probably still going to be Austin Eckler for me at plus 115. Do I think Saquon Barkley scores? Yes, but it's apparent on this team, they don't worry about feelings. Saquon Barkley has been a great teammate all the way through, saying all the right things. But that's not going to get him to carry the ball in the goal line, and I think he understands that now. If that ball is in, pass interference in the end zone, lining up around the 1.5-yard line or in, that is a quarterback sneak each and every time, and it proves worthy of it. So when you're trying to factor in, is Saquon going to score? And maybe if they're on the goal line, he gets the carry. He never gets those carries. But he's still listed at a minus 180 because Yes, he can score from the 10-yard line, from the 8-yard line, from the 7-yard line, from the 5-yard line, from the 20-yard line, from the 50-yard line. He can do that. I think Saquon Barkley has a legitimate chance to score. Minus 180 price, are we betting that? I'm not so sure. Jalen Hurts at a minus 110. That ball's inside the 2. That's an automatic touchdown. It's almost hard to pass up, and it's crazy that he is still priced around that plus 100 range. But I'm telling you right now, the guy that I have my focus on right now, and his price point is dropping a little bit, it's A.J. Brown. It's a plus 130. A.J. Brown now coming back off that injury, got right in Dallas against a secondary that looks like it's, again, going to be without Marshawn Lattimore. I think the advantage is there in that touchdown market for A.J. Brown. Terry McLaurin has been very good this year. After doing cardio, as he said, last year, with a terrible offense, with a terrible offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy, he's back to the basics and lighting it up. He's listed at a plus 160 price. But if you're headed into this football game, Donnie, give me one player that you're probably taking tomorrow to score an anytime touchdown. I got to tell you, it's probably between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown right now. Both of those guys fill it up. The Eagles, from a Washington perspective, it's Austin Eckler, and it's probably going to be listed there as Terry McLaurin. Zach Ertz coming back to Philadelphia at a plus 320 price is interesting. As they get into the red zone, he doesn't run all that well. He can catch one in the end zone and fall down. It all counts the same as 6 points here. Let's take a look in this game. Maybe it's some of those passing, receiving, and rushing props as well. We got a long way to go. We are setting the table for Separation Sunday in the NFL. It's on the right side of the SportsGrid Network, and I'll be right back.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app. Take us to places where the wife would definitely not approve.
Not counting the bank.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
Okay, we got to hang a sign out that says the doctor is in.
1985, Dwight Gooden wins a Cy Young Award and is the youngest 20-game winner.
Looking to strike out the side. He does it.
Pitching that year was just a magical year, and when I pitched, I did want the 10 strikeouts, I did want the shutout, I did want a complete game. I want to give the fans something extra to go home about.
For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
In case you've been worried about AI taking your job and destroying the world economy, perhaps fear not. A large, well-known fast food chain is quietly dropping its AI-powered drive-through automated order-taking system after some mishaps.
Would you like extra sauce with your 2,100 orders of chicken nuggets?
Believe it or not, these are actual scenarios.
I'm sure you asked for 40 dozen pounds of butter.
The fatal flaw? Voice recognition AI that can't identify misidentified spoken orders.
I just want you to know that I have complete confidence in the long-term success of this mission. By the way, here is your 4-gallon vat of bacon-topped caramel ice cream.
Yahoo! Follow me at Chicapalbo on X and stay tuned to The Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
Football full circle.
He was embarrassingly bad. What is that guy doing in an NFL uniform? He couldn't take a snap from center without fumbling the ball. He had 5 completions for 12 yards at one point in this game. I mean, that's almost mathematically impossible. And they couldn't throw the ball down the field, and you got a wide receiver like CeeDee Lamb somehow, some way. You can't get him the ball.
It's football full circle with Ben Stevens and Scott Wetzel. Weekdays noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. Don't be that guy.
You know the kind.
They're superstitious, carry good luck charms, and have extravagant rituals to win. There's an easier way.
Listen to us. It beats carrying 4-leaf clovers everywhere.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Rocking and rolling right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's Moneyline. It's Donnie Rightside on a solo mission. Can't wait for this weekend's action here in the NFL. Starts tomorrow on Thursday night. We're just previewing it right now. Just getting that fresh approach to get you ready tomorrow. Again, on Moneyline, we'll hit this game hard. Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels, 2 really good quarterbacks in the NFL. 224.5 passing yards here as his prop for Jalen Hurts. Jaden Daniels coming in at 226.5 touchdown passes. Over 1.5 for Hurts at plus 126. Over 1.5 for Jaden Daniels at plus 136. So as I look at those two numbers here, it's interesting because the Eagles do ground and pound a lot, but you will have the opportunity for Jalen Hurts to throw many yards, which means over 225, and throw for multiple touchdowns at over 1.5, because I do think you're going to get a really good effort out of Jaden Daniels and that Washington offense. Past couple offenses the Philadelphia Eagles have faced, it's safe to say they weren't technically the best that you're going to find in the business, but make no mistake about it. The Eagles in their 5-game win streak have played very good defense. Look at the Browns game, gave up 16 points. One of those was on a touchdown was on a blocked field goal in that game. You take a look at the Giants game, only gave up 3. Bengals game, giving up 17 total points in that one in a 20-point victory there. Jaguars, 28-23. Jaguars also scored a touchdown on defense against the Eagles. So technically, maybe that's 16 points. And the Dallas Cowboys, only 6. Jaguars don't have a great offense. Cowboys stink on offense. The Bengals have a very good offense. Even though T. Higgins wasn't there, you still think that doesn't matter? Like, oh, they beat them without T. Higgins. You see what that offense did for the Bengals versus the Baltimore Ravens? Yeah, they're pretty quality. But now the Eagles are taking on the Commanders in this one. So if you get a running mate, which means let's score anywhere between 17-plus points, I think Jalen Hurts does throw for over 224 in that game. I also think there's a legitimate chance that Jalen Hurts can throw for more than 2 touchdown passes or 2 touchdown passes or more. The question mark is, we know they love to score on the ground. Saquon Barkley on the ground, yes. By the way, Saquon Barkley in the air is a pretty good one. But I do think A.J. Brown, again, has a big night, which includes a touchdown. But I'm not hating on either one of those. Jaden Daniels, 226.5. I think that does make some sense. Because if I think the Eagles win that game, maybe some extra passing in the fourth quarter. Receiving props in this game. A.J. Brown's a lead dog, and it's rising. It was in the high 70s earlier this week, 77.5, 78.5, 79.5. That now sits at the FanDuel Sportsbook for A.J., 82.5. Terry McLaurin, 60.5. Noah Brown, 37.5. Zach Ertz, 34.5. Saquon at 14.5. We don't have any odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook just yet on Devonta at this point. Because we're still waiting on practice reports. Is he okay? Is he 100% fine? But I am a big fan this weekend of AJ, no less. Rushing yards, nothing listed for the Washington Commanders, and rightfully so. Waiting on Brian Robinson injury news. Is he going to give it a go? Is he going to play? How healthy is he going to be? I understand that. Saquon Barkley, you're not getting any cheapies here anymore. You're not getting anything cheapies in this game at all. Like 225.5, something that, passing yards, I was saying, on Jalen Hurts could be doable. But Saquon, 91.5. Basically has hit the century mark. Jalen Hurts, 38.5. So that's one of those that's interesting as well. But that game tomorrow night is going to decide a lot here in the NFC East. Washington wins. They climb back in first place over the Eagles and take the Eagles down in their own building, which would give them the, obviously, tiebreaker for the time being. Game number 2 will take place down at Northwest Stadium, which still sounds odd to say, in Washington. And we'll see how that one plays out. But as I said, Separation Sunday, as I want to set up and talk about over the next segment or two, you got some great football games coming up on Sunday. You almost have the perfect, layout too. Thursday night football game, tremendous. 1 o'clock football card, Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers at home getting 3 points from the Ravens. Total in that game listed at 48.5. Let me get a look at those weather conditions here in that game. How about this? Sunday in Pittsburgh, mid-November, 53 degrees at kickoff. It'll get as high as 57 degrees. No precipitation in the air, and a wind speed 3.5 miles per hour. Awesome. Love to see that. Don't have to worry about anything like, when how cold it's going to be and what those offenses will do. That total at 48.5 tells you a lot. Now I'm looking right now at FanDuel. I don't even have any odds up here for any of the rushing props, for any of the passing props at this point here. So we're just flying blind in this one. But if we are looking, Lamar Jackson is sensational. He's going up against a pretty good pass rush that even is a little bit injured with Highsmith. That looks like he's going to be out this weekend. But the Baltimore Ravens secondary can be had. You saw last week 3 touchdown passes out of Russ. Was he ultra efficient? No, not necessarily. Basically 50% in the passing game. Had the 1 turnover, but that was like a punt. Throw it up in the air on 3rd down, got intercepted. George Pickens tapped some guy down, so it was like a 50-yard punt at that point. But these two quarterbacks going toe-to-toe, and boy, the balance of power that could shift in the AFC North to legitimate contenders in the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they win, could happen. Or is it the same old hat? We thought the Ravens were the best team in that division. They are going to show up on Sunday as the best team in that division. We'll be right back right on the SportsGrid Network. I'm Donnie Rightside.
Attitude is everything.
Don't say I lost today.
Say, I gained powerful insight into why I need to pay attention to SportsGrid. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. The Bears have fired Shane Waldron as offensive coordinator. The team announced the move Tuesday, just a day after head coach Matt Eberflus promised changes and adjustments for the struggling team. Passing game coordinator Thomas Brown's been promoted to offensive coordinator. The 4-5 Bears have lost 3 in a row and have scored a total of just 27 points over that stretch. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott's done for the season. He'll have surgery to repair an injured hamstring. The 49ers and Demo Lenore have agreed on a 5-year extension worth a reported $92 million. He's having a solid season, 53 tackles in 9 games, along with a forced fumble and 2 interceptions. The Tampa Bay Rays won't be able to play in St. Petersburg next season. Repairs to Tropicana Field won't be done until 2026. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
I feel like I'm constantly cleaning hair off my bathroom floor. At least my Swiffer Sweeper makes it easy. Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths have ultra-thick pads to trap and lock hairs, like a hair magnet. And when I'm finished cleaning up my hair, Sweeper takes care of his too. Now the hair's gone, all thanks to Swiffer. Try Swiffer Sweeper heavy-duty dry cloths. I promise you'll love them or your money back. And also try Swiffer Sweeper Wet to make quick work of tough, sticky messes.
Not sure how much you know about Progressive Insurance. You may know us for insuring your home and auto. You may know a couple of our commercials. But what you may not know is that since 2013, Progressive has been honoring veterans with vehicle donations through the annual Keys to Progress Veteran Vehicle Giveaway Program, giving back to those who gave so much. Now, you probably didn't wake up today saying, I really wish I knew more about Progressive Insurance, but this seemed like the type of thing people wouldn't mind hearing about. Find out more about how we're dedicated to our customers and communities at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
How many SportsGrid listeners does it take to change a light bulb?
It takes 2.
1 to change the light bulb.
And 1 to see if our mobile app can provide the same amount of light.
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Oh, right back at it. Had to go to another sports book, Bet365, to find some of those odds here for Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Anytime touchdown market. Derrick Henry, it's expensive, minus 200. Najee Harris, plus 110. Ooh, that catches the attention. Lamar Jackson, the score, plus 150. That looks great. Zay Flowers, plus 160. George Pickens, plus 160. Mark Andrews, plus 210. Jaylen Warren, plus 210. Man, it's going to be fantastic. How about some of the passing props? Let's head down here. All right, so we'll go passing yards. Lamar Jackson, 235.5. Russell Wilson, 226.5. If we're looking at receiving yards in this one, Rashad Bateman, who came to life in his last game, 34.5. That's doable. Zay Flowers, 58.5. Pat Freiermuth, tight end for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 26.5. George Pickens, 65.5. And Darnell Washington, listed at 8.5. By the way, shout out to the people in the chat box out there hanging with us today. D Money, Jerry Edmond, obviously Jordan P. Guys always in there. Love it. Chris Brady's in here again. Chris Warren just showed up. So shout out to the guys keeping it live out there, sharing the information and keeping it rolling on SportsGrid Demand right here on the SportsGrid Network. That's the YouTube channel. Keeping it live for the people that want to watch a radio show as if it was TV and interact with the host. Who says no? Certainly not those people out here. Receiving yards in this game. Who are we missing here? So Pickens 65.5, Washington 8.5. That's the big tight end, Freiermuth. Not getting action from Mike Williams just yet. You know they'll settle in on that one. If you think Derrick Henry basically has a catch, his number sits at 4.5. I do like Zay, but boy, Rashad Bateman, more into that. And also Deontay Johnson going back to Pittsburgh. How does that feel? He hasn't shown up at all. And quite frankly, blew one of my low-end parlays where it was a no sweat. He was the missing link, and he fell down on a play, which would have been at least 30 to 40 yards on a completion here. Man, how about that? And by the way, big news coming out here. I don't know where this is. The press conference going on now because I didn't see this show up just yet. Let me just go on my information here on Pro Twitter. There we go. The Colts are going back to Anthony Richardson as their starting quarterback this week against the Jets and for the rest of the season. Seems like the right move to make after what you got out of Joe Flacco the past 2 weeks. Tried to change things up, but also change things up for the better here for Anthony Richardson. Got to sit down, got to maybe be a professional, put some time in behind the scenes, and obviously won back the attention of his coach and the football fans. Now let's see what Anthony Richardson has to go and see if he can beat down the Jets. Jets defense stinks. He should be able to do some damage. And they're probably watching like, Flacco's standing in the pocket. Jets might be able to get to him. I don't know if the Jets are going to be able to get to Anthony Richardson. That's an intriguing game coming up. So another one there on the list as like an eliminator, right? Loser of that game's out of the playoffs. I don't think at this time that the Colts will make it, but there's a better chance that they make it than the Jets make it because the Jets look absolutely dead and buried. All right, let's keep moving forward here. Because again, Selection Sunday, no. Separation Sunday, absolutely this weekend. Let's get to one more of those games, which we're going to love. Kansas City and Buffalo. Let me go to the FanDuel Sportsbook to see if they actually have the numbers we need here. All right. 1.5 now into 2.5 here for the Buffalo Bills, and I agree with that. We had our poll on SportsGrid, at SportsGrid right here on Twitter/X. Who was going to win this football game? Was it going to be the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills? I voted for the Buffalo Bills. I think they get it done. I do. I think the Bills win this weekend, but if you tell me Kansas City comes away with a victory, I'm not shocked. I'm not amazed. I saw it last year in the playoffs. Thought the Buffalo Bills would beat them. Nope, couldn't do it. Kansas City's undefeated for a reason. The bare minimum. If they need to score, they always score a touchdown. If they need a field goal, they always score the field goal. Hey, we're down late in the game. What do we need to do? 13 seconds left to go. They go down and score and win the football game. It's what they do. They're getting 2.5 points in this game. That total is 46.5. Let's get some updates here because we had some good weather in Pittsburgh, by the way. What do we got in Buffalo? Look at Buffalo. Look at Buffalo. November 17th, 2024, 425. 55 degrees, no precipitation, and barely any wind. This is phenomenal, people. Absolutely phenomenal. Touchdown scorers in this game. Looks like they're locked up. FanDuel was just doing me dirty today. Let me go back over to Bet365 and see what we got at this 425 absolute barn burner. Where's the touchdown props? Player props, touchdown scores. Kareem Hunt, minus 125. Be careful with that one. The reason I say this is the practice window has opened up for Isaiah Pacheco, which means if they activate him, he's eligible to come back and he's going to play. Same thing I just talked about previously with Jordan Mailata. They activated him, cut a guy. Looks like he's going to probably give it a go. Looks like a cheap price on Kareem Hunt. That might actually be an expensive price if Pacheco is able to come back. Not sure if he is or not at this point, but we'll find out. James Cook, plus 100. Love the kid for Buffalo. Josh Allen to score a touchdown, plus 130. Travis Kelce, good price here, plus 150. Scoring back-to-back weeks, can he keep it going? Khalil Shakir, one of my favorite slot wide receivers in the NFL for the Buffalo Bills, plus 162. Amari Cooper, if he's going to play. By the way, we have you know what? We probably don't have any practice reports yet for them. We'll be practicing today and give one over on Amari Cooper. I know he's struggling with that wrist injury. DeAndre Hopkins, who scored a couple times, he's a plus 240. Boy, you're getting some good prices. And Joe Lisi, if you're listening out here, Kincaid and Knox, plus 240 apiece. Sweet Baby Ray Davis, 240. Matt Collins, plus 260, so on and so forth. Curtis Samuel, forgot he was even on the football team at that point. So if we're going over some other player props in this game, let's look at the quarterbacks. And it's going to be a showdown, absolutely no doubt about it. Patrick Mahomes, 239.5 is his number. Josh Allen, 235.5 is his listed number here. Both of those guys, legitimate chances to go over. Receiving yards, no, and looks like we only have Kansas City Chiefs up right now, and rightfully so. Not sure who's playing, I guess, for the Buffalo Bills, so they just won't post any of them, even though Shakir's probably going to give it a go, right? We know that. The two tight ends. You have Noah Gray, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, and Xavier Worthy. 15.5 for Gray. Hopkins, 51.5. Travis Kelce, 66.5. And Xavier Worthy, the young rookie wide receiver, at 26.5. Does FanDuel have any of these open, or are we all locked on this game? Passing, so they got receiving. The only thing they have on receiving is first quarter receiving yards for Travis Kelce. So filtering through some things, I guess waiting on some of the practice reports or maybe getting some information of what those would be. But this game is going to be absolutely massive. Because if you're looking at the overall standings, right? And you're saying, okay, teams win and lose every single week. But as I call it, like Separation Sunday here, these teams are playing each other. And so much is on the line. Like if the Buffalo Bills can beat the Kansas City Chiefs and improve to 9-2, which would drop the Chiefs to 9-1. Now, if you just tie them the rest of the way, you each finish at 14-3. Even though I'm just using that number out there to put 17 games in there. The Buffalo Bills would get the nod. The Pittsburgh Steelers sit at 7-2. The The Baltimore Ravens are 7-3. You beat them. You move to 8-2. You drop the Ravens to 7-4, and you have the tiebreaker. You get that breathing room that's put in there, which is so key. That's why I love this. Same thing with the Philadelphia Eagles game, because the teams are starting to shape up. And again, we just talked about the Colts information that came through, which is Anthony Richardson going back to being the starting quarterback, Joe Flacco being shown to the bench, which I don't mind. I think they tried to try something because they weren't seeing a lot here out of their young quarterback, and maybe wanted him to be some of that, mature process. Wrong. He's back in there. Hopefully he did mature, and I'm interested to see what he does against the Jets. I'll tell you another pivotal game, because we got some other hot topics we'll get to after the break. But that is the Cincinnati Bengals this weekend taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. I feel like the Chargers, talked with Tom Vecchio today on the early line, they're flying a little bit under the radar. They're getting healthy now at the right time. Let's look at that Chargers. No, 3 straight wins for them. They've actually won 4 of their past 5 games. They only lost 17-15 to the Cardinals. They crushed the Saints. They crushed the Browns. They crushed the Titans. Now they basically have an elimination game with the Bengals this weekend. Not for them, but the Bengals take another hit. That's going to be tough to try to recover from, because they had to go one. I talked about they have to go 1-2 in these next 3 games. They already lost one of their games with the Baltimore Ravens. It's a 3-game set. They need to go 1-2. So now they're down to 2 games to pick up that victory. Maybe they can get it this weekend, but the Chargers are so tough. Then the Chargers have the Ravens, the Falcons, the Chiefs, and the Buccaneers probably a little bit healthier. The Broncos fighting for a playoff spot. Crazy time, man. The NFL is so awesome. Separation Sunday about to be underway. We got more hot topics next. Make sure you keep the dial right here on Moneyline on the SportsGrid Network.
It's a harsh world out there.
Get the SportsGrid mobile app and take all that sweet, sweet winning edge with you.
Download today.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. The Tampa Bay Rays won't be able to play in St. Petersburg next season. Repairs to Tropicana Field won't be done until 2026. The Bears have fired Shane Waldron as offensive coordinator. The team announced the move Tuesday, just a day after head coach Matt Eberflus promised changes and adjustments for the struggling team. Passing game coordinator Thomas Brown's been promoted to offensive coordinator. The 4-5 Bears have lost 3 in a row and have scored a total of just 27 points over that stretch. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott's done for the season. He'll have surgery to repair an injured hamstring. The 49ers and Demo Lenore have agreed on a 5-year extension worth a reported $92 million. He's having a solid season, 53 tackles in 9 games, along with a forced fumble and 2 interceptions. Bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Oh no, my phone.
Hear that? It's the sound of a skater dropping her phone and smashing it on the ice. Yep, it's definitely broken. But at Verizon, we got you. This holiday, trade in any phone, any condition from one of our top brands and get a new Samsung Galaxy S24 Plus on Unlimited Ultimate and Watch 7 and Tab S9 FE 5G. That's over $1,800 in value. So you'll save big on 3 great gifts. Only at Verizon. Service plan required for watch and tablet. Over $1,800 value based on phone, watch, and tablet. Trade in and additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the propane tank on your grill first before hosting a tailgate.
Let's fire up. Here, let me try. Seriously? You didn't check the propane? Who wants chips?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Salt and vinegar?
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
There once was a dude named Sid. He never won and felt disgusted. He got the winning edge, his friends would allege, all for just listening to SportsGrid. If Sid can do it,
so can you.
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
My guy X-Man shows up in the chat box. You know he's here. You know he's around. It's Christmas season coming up here. Guys got to give out some gifts out here. Shout out to people in the chat box hanging out here with us on SportsGrid On Demand, right here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you go there. Make sure you subscribe. Each and every day I see more and more subscribers. It's great stuff. Great way to grow the channel. Great way to have some fun and interact with your favorite radio host right here on the SportsGrid Network. We did have NBA last night. By the way, before we get to the NBA, you know me, guys. I don't necessarily like college basketball before January starts, which we finally get, divisional play, and it's a lot more fun. But I do buy in to some of the big games that you do have. And we saw that yesterday, case in point. I was watching and betting both Michigan State and Kansas, Duke and Kentucky. You see the way those games played out yesterday? Duke looked like they were going to smash Kentucky. Kentucky with a sensational second half, locked down on defense, and Duke just couldn't make shots. Cooper Flagg, 17 years old, he's a flat-out stud. 26 points, 12 rebounds, but gave the basketball away a couple times in the final moments to cost them the victory. Hunter Dickinson is on Social Security. He's got 28 points and 12 last night, leading a Kansas victory. I was upset because I took a couple losses yesterday. I put 2 out yesterday. One was 4 different guys to get 10 points or more. 3 of those guys got 10 points. My favorite guy, too, Zeke Mayo. For Kansas, and he is just lightning in a bottle, man. Smooth, step-back three-point game. Can do it all. He did it all. He just didn't score enough points for me yesterday. Scored 6 points. 4 of those points came really late. Didn't even have any points at the half, which cost me one of my parlays. The other ones, I had multiple guys, a couple guys to shoot 3-point shots. They didn't make it. But I even put one in late at night when I saw my first one was going down. I didn't actually tweet that one out. But I lost that one, too. Because I needed 10 points out of a kid. Hold on. Let me just make sure. And it was the Duke-Kentucky game. Because I doubled down. I went Flagg 10 points, which, again, he scored easily. Also went Knuppel 10 points, which he scored easily, got 14. Shot 20 times. By the way, Flagg shot 19 times. Knuppel shot 20 times. But I also went with Brea, which they wouldn't give me any 3-point props on FanDuel. So I took him to score 10 points, scored 8 points. 2 of 4 from 3-point range, which probably would have cashed that ticket. I would have went that route. But sometimes you live and die with those. I did win an NBA parlay a little bit later that night. It was a 30% boost live. I took it at the half. I need Steph Curry to basically make 2 3-point shots in the second half, which he did. And then I also needed 4 rebounds from Luka Doncic in the second half, which he got. So those were nice. Those came through. I like that. But I did lose money overall, which gets me upset. But the college basketball game, fun to watch both of those. But they were in Atlanta in an NBA arena. The Duke Blue Devils from 3-point range, 4 of 23 in that game. At least Kentucky came to play, 40% shooters, 10 of 25. But even in game number 1, you were taking a look at games like, Kansas and Michigan State. Michigan State went 3 for 24 from the 3-point line. It always does make it tough because you watch these games and you see them play out, but you have to understand the level of competition that really raises up. Like Michigan State wasn't ranked, but a good basketball team. Like Michigan State, Kansas, Duke, Kentucky, they don't play anybody the first game or 2 of the season. Then all of a sudden just level up as if you're in the Final Four in a neutral court. And sometimes the play does dictate that. It looked like in Kansas and Mississippi State. Michigan State, that 30-24 first quarter, which I think was like 10-10 through the 10-minute mark, a very slow game, really picked up in the second half, 47-45. It was the opposite of what we got in game number 2, Duke, Kentucky. That game was a barn burner in the first half, 46-37, then ground to a halt because Duke couldn't score in the second half, only scoring 26 points. But I think Duke's going to be a fun team to watch throughout the rest of the season. Obviously, Kansas is really deep and talented, starting with Hunter Dickinson in that lineup. But just watching it through, I told you, I was really impressed watching the first couple games, looking at the statistics here for Mayo. Like, Mayo's one of those players that you say, okay, he's averaging 15 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists a game, and shooting 47% from the floor. Like, oh, man, how long has he been at Kansas for? How long has he played there? No, he's a transfer, man. This transfer market where some of these guys can actually really improve themselves, right? Stepping up to the next level, playing it at a higher level. And Zeke Mayo's doing that. That's something that I'm going to watch. That's a good basketball team in Kansas. That's extremely deep. So I had fun betting on it, but I would have had more fun if I actually won some of this stuff last night. The NBA is a little bit easier, a lot more track to function. You know me, I love myself some 3-point props, can hit those. Also last night, I did have the FanDuel no sweat bet, which was for $50 in the NBA. I went Steph Curry to make 4 3-point shots. Got it. I went Karl Anthony Towns to make 2 3-point shots. Got that. Got that really early in the game. I think his first 2 shots were 3-point shots that both went down. But I then initially went with Luka Doncic to record a triple-double last night. I said, oh, man, that price is good. Like, juiced up, I think it was up like 12-1 at that point, included with the rest of the options there. So I was like, you know what? Let me be smart about this. I do think he gets a triple-double, But let's just make sure we have a little bit of insurance in case he actually gets close to that triple-double and doesn't get it, like he did, I believe, the night before. So I went 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Luka Doncic finished that game, 31 points, 8 rebounds, but only 6 assists. So that was a tough one there. But again, you get the $50 back. You live to fight another day. But I thought that one's lined up really good. You always get those good vibes, too. First guy out of the gate, knocks it down right away. You feel good. Then we're just watching that Mavericks-Warrior game, and I would roll over every 25 minutes last night just to check in. Chris Warren says Klay Thompson 3-point shots. Yeah, he was knocking them down. Splash Brothers, by the way, combined for 11 3-point shots made last night between the two. I think it was, 6? Was it 6? I can't remember which way it was, 6 and 5. I want to say it was 6 for the Warriors. Or 6 for Steph Curry in that game. Let me just dip into that box right here just to make sure I got that correct. Steph Curry made 5, Klay Thompson was the one that made 6 yesterday. That was a fun game to watch. I actually thought the Mavericks were the right play in that game with the 2.5 points. You see that final score, 120-117. Also yesterday, we're talking about NBA action, the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers were only getting 2.5 points. It looked a little bit off. And it was a heavy public play on the Knicks to be the favorite, but I thought that was the right side that won, 111-99. Sixers don't even get to the 100-yard marker. Paul George has a very good game, 29 points, 10 rebounds in that game, filling the stat sheet also with 3 assists, 3 steals, and a block. 29 total points, 7-11 from three-point range. Wasn't enough to get the job done. Why? Because Joel Embiid didn't show up. 26 minutes, 2 of 11 from the floor, 13 points. But I think the Philadelphia 76ers really found something with Jared McCain. Another good effort, 23 points, knocking down 4 3-point shots. One more segment to go. Moneyline, right here on the Sports Grid Network, and I'm Donnie Rightside.
SportsGrid is committed to bringing you sports gaming strategies and information 24/7.
We're not doing this for our health.
This is our job.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The new SportsGrid app is now available on iOS and the App Store. Experience the ultimate sports betting companion that provides personalized content from your favorite hosts. In-depth matchup previews, game and prop picks, live odds, stats, scores, and more. All in one place. And of course, on the SportsGrid app, you can tune into our live television and radio coverage anytime. On the go, wherever you are. Download the SportsGrid app on the iOS App Store now. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and SiriusXM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Moneyline at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern, and Pharrell Coast to Coast keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi, then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. Moneyline.
I wonder if Jerry's owner's box was in the sun the entire time where they couldn't see the game. Would they put up curtains? You know they would. But the fact that Jerry sits on the sideline is like, ooh, isn't it a nice aesthetic where like the sun comes through those windows during the game? Meanwhile, it's costing his team touchdowns, and there's no reason for it to happen.
Catch Moneyline with Donnie Rightside and Kevin Walsh. Weekdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network.
We're here 7 days a week,
giving you the actionable insights and expert perspectives you need to win.
And here's more good news.
It's free.
So stay tuned and get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
By the way, people, did you remind this is why I love the chat box. Like, I usually have some set topics that I want to get to and like get through, right? But the fact that I'm reading the chat box during the commercial break right now, and we're bringing up the Jake Paul fight, love it. I've been waiting for this fight, to be honest. And it's not just, oh, he's just hyping. No, I've actually wanted to see this. It's a sanctioned event, which you know what that means? There's legalized betting on it. The FanDuel Sportsbook does have it listed. Jake Paul, a minus 210 favorite. Mike Tyson, the underdog, plus 172. You can bet on this fight. It's 8 rounds, I believe, and 2-minute rounds. And it's on Netflix. I would never pay for this fight myself, but I do pay for Netflix. And it's on Netflix. I'm in. And it's Friday night at 11 o'clock, which is perfect. You know your boy likes to get his sleep, but I don't work on Saturday. I 1,000% am watching this boxing match. 1,000%. Now, hear me out on this, too. Like I see you out there, Chris. I'll bet Mike because we are contemporaries, but Jake should win the fight. I hear you on that. We all love Tyson. I wish the heavyweights of the 1980s, which weren't that good outside of Mike Tyson, but boxing was never on its more solid ground than Mike Tyson fighting in Atlantic City. It was must-watch television for a minute and a half, and he'd knock everybody out. It's a part of my childhood that I go back to and think very fondly of what the boxing game was back then. There were some heavyweights. There was Mike Tyson. There was so many good middleweights. But as I digress, you know why I actually think that he's going to win this year? Truthfully. Because the gravy train can't stop here. You see what I'm saying? Say what you want about Mike Tyson. Does he want to win? Yes, he's a boxing legend. True to form, he's saying all the right things. But Mike Tyson understands he's going to make a lot of money from this fight. That's why he took it. Not because he was, you know what, I'm just mad. I want to get in the ring and I want to end this guy's talk. Like, no, he's a businessman. He's made a ton of money. Look, made a ton of money in boxing back in the day, lost it all. He's probably making even more money now with all the stuff he's getting himself into. Podcast, selling cannabis, just promoting his. He is a wealthy, wealthy, wealthy man, and rightfully so. But the gravy train stops if Mike Tyson wins this fight. Like, Tyson's not going to say, okay, I beat, Jake Paul, and now I'm going to take that mantle and I'm going to keep fighting. Oh, Tyson's going to fight anymore. Almost like, you know what, you're getting up there in age. You probably shouldn't be fighting now, but this is a great spectacle that can make a lot of money, and we'll see what happens. And I agree with that. But if Jake Paul continues to beat these people, the gravy train will be there. Because quite frankly, every time Jake Paul fights, I'm interested. Because you know what usually happens? It ends in a knockout. Like the YouTube, Netflix boxing games with celebrity is better than actual boxing today. And that's not a lie. But it all ends. If Jake Paul loses in a split decision or gets knocked out, the gravy train and the spectacle and the circus, it's over. Nobody's going to care who Jake Paul fights next. They'll call him a loser. He got knocked out by an old man. And I sort of will jump on board to that as well. But if he does win, you will watch his next fight because he's probably going to pick an intriguing person once again and see if he can beat him. Can you imagine this fight? If Jake comes into this and knocks Mike Tyson out in like round 3, people will still be like, oh, you knocked out, but he still knocked out Mike Tyson. So they're going to want to see what he does next. If Mike Tyson puts an end to Jake Paul, that puts an end to his boxing empire. Nobody cares about Jake Paul anymore. Oh, he's going to come back and fight. Or then he's actually go pro at that point, tries up, but who will care? You'll say he got beat by like a 60-year-old old man in the ring. He can't fight with the young pups. But the one thing you got to give credit to Jake Paul, too, to be honest, man's got some heavy hands. Like, I know growing up, look, some people may not have been in fights. You always knew that one guy that's like, you know what? I have a lot of pride, but I hope this guy never wants to square up with me because I know he's got those heavy hands and those paws get put on you, it's going to hurt. He seems like he's that type of dude, man. Like when he throws punches, man, it's thunder shots. Boom. Rattling the core, man. Rattling that brain in your head. Knocking people. You know how hard it is? I'm telling you. You know how hard it is to knock people out? It's hard to do in a boxing ring. It is. And he continuously does that. So I am very intrigued. I'm glad the chat box was up to the tune for this final segment. Now, sports books, hear me out. We need boosts on this fight. Can you hear me, FanDuel? Bet365, Fanatics, DraftKings. We need boosts on this fight because I want to bet it. I just don't know if I want to bet a minus 210 on Jake Paul, even though I do think he wins. Give me like either guy to win at plus 100 as a boost, maximum $50. We are in on that. But that will be something to watch on Friday night that I'm so glad I thought about again because now it's back in my cranium. I will be watching at 11 o'clock. I will have Netflix on. We will get down. We'll have some fun and watch it play out. But another great episode of Moneyline on display today. Kevin will be back for me tomorrow. A massive Thursday night football game between the Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. It only gets better. JP behind the wheels of steel. I'm Donnie Rightside for a solo mission. I'll see you tomorrow right here again on Moneyline.
Just to clarify, we're not saying the winning edge will help you win the lottery.
But if it ever does, aren't you glad you're all